mean, Jake's here to help out the masses. He's educating, he's guiding us. We also have a new patch that dropped this very week, so we do need the extra help, right? So let's take a few minutes to discuss and highlight some of the changes that we think might impact what we are seeing this weekend. And when I say we, I really just mean Jake. So please, what do we need to know?
I mean, I do think the nerfs might be like the most impactful that we see this weekend, with Freya getting like both of her meta perks nerfs. So the barrage is going to move a little bit slower with the minor perk, and the concussive pull is going to be a little bit weaker. Kind of wondering, I still think you'll probably take the moving barrage. It's so insanely useful. However, the concussive blast, like I wonder if maybe there's room to change it up with the perk meta. Freya and Sombra both getting some small nerfs. I don't expect to take them out of the game, but it could open things up for other possibilities. And on the other side of the board with buffs, I feel Hazard got some nice QL changes. Expect to see maybe more Hazard this week. I think he was already fine before, and just a little bit better lifesteal, a little bit better ledge mantling. These are kind of nice buffs for him. Soldier got a change to the major perk stim pack, which means to me, I think that stim pack actually starts to look pretty good, especially if you're getting healed, you're getting pocketed. It's only damaging you. It's not putting an anti-heal on you, so you can still get healed by your supports. Genji is interesting with the up and down, of course, with 2 less shots, so 24 instead of 30 shots in the mag. However, your projectiles are going to be a little bit faster. I'm not convinced the projectile speed matters all that much. Most of the time on Genji, you're pretty close range, but I think having 2 less shots is a big deal. So I actually think this is a pretty significant nerf to Genji, even though it is up and down.
This does, I think, though, in my opinion, right? Like Hazard, we were already seeing start to creep up in play last week. I think this definitely makes him even better, in kind of like that no dive category, and then also like even into like Maga compositions. And then I think with the Freya nerf, it kind of opens the door for Sojourn to come back in, right? I think Freya was definitely taking Sojourn's slot, but with Freya getting some nerfs, I definitely think it opens things up for some Sojourn. Sojourn's pretty good with Hazard. It all starts to make a little bit of sense.
Right. So do you feel like there's a particular player or team that will be heavily impacted by these small changes?
I mean, EMEA just wants to play Maga, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's such small tweaks across the board. I don't honestly expect this to be very game-changing. I think this is more like a little subtle tweak, and we might see just a shift in popularity. But with, of course, hero bans being in, you can already see so much variance. Teams are already practicing such a diversity of strategies. I don't expect this to be, a big winner, big loser. These small patches now are going to be a little bit less impactful when the existence of variance with hero bans already there.
Right on. Yeah, Freya, which you touched on, having a little nerf here. Actually, the most banned DPS here overall, and most banned DPS in the EMEA region. So we decided to talk a little bit more about Freya after seeing her in play and in action for just 2 weeks. We're going to show our lovely casters here, the Butter Bros or whatever, some clips.
Butter Bros,
of
I like
pros.
that. I like that.
Bros.
Yeah, that's also
Bros.
viable.
We're going to show them some pros playing Freya from last week, and they'll have to determine if it was a Freya or a Frey kind of situation.
Right,
it's a wordplay here. We're trying to implement a Danish, which if I would pronounce it more Danish, then it wouldn't be as funny though. It would be Freya or Frey, I believe, in Danish. So it doesn't work. It works in the written version. Anyway, it was very smart and very funny. And
yeah, I believe you.
Clip. Thank you, Matt.
Renowned world expert on languages, Matt Mr. X.
That's right. Okay, here's our first clip. Here is Quartz on Freya. Is that a Freya or a Frey?
Let's see. He's doing good so far. That first kill was pretty clean. Strong opener. Now it's just clean up anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this is a Freya, right?
I mean, this guy's been crushing.
Yeah, this is the type of hero, though, that, like, fits Quartz's type of style perfectly. Like, it feels like this is a hero he should be awesome at. And, I mean, I think you just see the strength of Freya here.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a sort of individualistic carry hero in the flexibility, the mobility it offers, but, the pick threat as well. So it's been fun to see players, like, really sink their teeth in. And Quartz, I feel like we got to know him as a player, really, on the Sojourn, which has some similarities in terms of the style. It's, like, a little bit less static.
Okay, so we give Quartz the Freya.
This is a Freya. This is no doubt Freya. This guy's the standard bearer on Freya.
Okay, next clip. It should be coming up right here. Okay, can't know where this is going. I have a faint memory of Kyo playing.
See what we got here.
Freya.
Oh, that clip ended, bro. I didn't.
Okay.
Ooh. All right.
Is there like a middle ground, like a Frey meh?
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing some good, but I can't see it's all Freya.
You know, he did his job in this club. He's not.
Yeah, he's fine. I'm like 60-40 Freya here.
Okay. So I think we can go for a Freya.
Yeah, this is Freya.
Yeah, I just changed
But
the rules of the game on the fly.
if you do Freya, then you might as well just go Soju.
All right, Exodial.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
Ulti. Was a little, oh wow,
wide
he did it
left.
dirty. He just the missed ulti is the first clip. Oh my god.
yeah, the miss ulti's first clip.
Could happen.
He does
Wait, he'll
have
get that
swag
back.
though.
Ooh,
The gun
wait, that was
skin
nasty.
is kind of swaggy, so
That kill on
gotta be
Shockwave
some
was clean.
points in there.
He's serving, yeah.
That kill on Shockwave was very
All right,
clean.
let's see this bola. This bola's got to make up for the last one.
Oh, over the top.
We're going high.
He doesn't see it coming. Ooh, big one.
Okay, that's
Nice.
good. Freya.
Damn, he's just really be taking down Shockwave in these clips. I'm gonna say Freya. He put that work on Shockwave. A couple, you know, the
Yeah,
this
look.
bola is a little bit of an L, but
Nah,
say
he
overall.
was lagging during the first bola. He had a little like,
Right, right.
Maybe a little screen tear there. You know, just lagged a little bit.
little screen
Right,
tear.
it
You're
was-
just saying
yeah.
words, dog. You're just saying words.
Wide, yeah, like wide left. Look, I'm trying to cover you, Cody. My bad.
All right, Tree been hitting some crazy clips on the Freya.
Yeah, I mean,
I saw an insane one on Twitter like a week ago. This is like the hero Tree was meant to play.
yeah, it's tough for him to even find people because his team is just killing everybody.
Clean up.
That's kind of nice.
Everybody
though.
do your share. Nice,
Honestly,
too.
like,
Oh my god, if he hit that, that would have been crazy.
the movement and like the bolt shots of Freya, like even if the person was like mid at it, it just kind of looks awesome. So I
You're
feel
like bullet timing in the air. I'm gonna say Freya
Yeah.
with this. Tree's been the standard bearer for me on Freya.
Because like overall we have more Freyas than Frey nice.
Yeah, I would say
Okay.
so. We've seen better
Yeah.
performances, I think. We've seen some players just completely try and avoid playing Freya, like playing like Ashe and Sojourn, so we haven't, maybe they would be our Freyna players, but we haven't gotten the opportunity yet.
Yeah, I think a few teams just had to warm up to her. So like week one, again, she's also banned very often, so you still need to make do without her. And then in week two, we saw more teams picking her up. Labda was playing it last week as well, after we saw none of that in week one. So yeah, very excited to see how much more she will be played and impact the bans here as well and the strategies for all those teams. Now, before we get into today's matches, let's take a quick glance at the EMEA standings after just 2 weeks of play. What are our big surprises here, guys?
I mean, honestly, Gen G being really down on the ropes right now is rough for them. Like post rebuild, this was supposed to be okay. Like this is our season. We're making the comeback in stage 2. Stage 1 wasn't it for us, and they're kind of in the same spot, maybe worse than they were before. I mean, I don't think they're going to be like eliminated 7th, 8th come the end of this. There's a lot more games to play. However,
Yeah.
that's just like not. This is a team that wanted to be top 3. That felt like they should be top 3.
They didn't account for my man Willy's coming in with quick esports, started mopping it up here. I mean, they could easily be 2-0. I mean, they end up losing that game 5 to VP. So quick esports is really the thing that stands out to me the most, right? Obviously, really good performances thus far. We'll see if they can keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, they took VP to a 5th map as well, even though they lost the game. I think they just kind of went under the radar against most of the top teams. We just didn't quite have them picked as like this top tier mid-level team who can definitely take it to the big dogs. Now let's take a look at today's schedule to see who is up to play. We're starting with a banger. VP going up against Alcatsia. That ought to be a good one. And then Gen G and Peps, 2 teams who really are desperate to get those dubs on the board, because for both of them, the stage doesn't get any easier in terms of scheduling.
I think this VP Qadsiah game really is very likely to be the decider of the 1-2 seed in the region, right? Like these are the 2 teams kind of firmly on top. Twisted Minds has been really competitive, but you know, think about last stage. These were the 2 teams that we came to see, you know, from an international perspective to compete. And so for VP and Qadsiah, I mean, they have to know that this is a very high stakes match for both of these squads.
This is also
Absolutely.
a must win, I think, for Gen G. Like, it's really early on, obviously, like, to say this game
but
is
it's not that early on. It's actually not that early on.
They have Twisted Lines coming up. They have Qadsiah coming up. I mean, they have very tough. This is like one of the more winnable matches that they're going to have, and that's a scary spot to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, I don't think it's very early because we're literally in the halfway point through stage 2. So you need to get those dubs on the board, especially against teams where you're considered the favorite. So yeah, we will be talking more about that, of course, after this first match. So let's dig into that one, though. Virtus.pro against Alcatsia. What have we seen and learned from those two teams already in the first 2 weeks? Let's start with, I believe Alcatsia is the first team we're going to take a closer look at. Yeah, Alcatsia, they are coming off of yet another victory. Their new tank Qadsiah made a lot of had a lot of great performances thus far. Like, his debut was pretty much like spotless. Like, this squad just looks really, really good. Labda, as of last week, also on that Freya, which prompted the bans coming out from the opposition there as well, just to try and shut him down, because the whole team is just looking really good, very clinical.
For me, Jake, this has been the best team in EMEA thus far. Like, I think Qadsiah is proven, right? I know got playtime during stage 1, but now kind of like, securing that starting spot here, right? I know as the main tank for Alcatsia, like, can play the div at a high level. We're seeing him flex over some other stuff, and then I think just continue to be impressed with Labda's ability to go from a player we historically had already just kind of like written down as a Pharah one trick and play the Sojourn, play the Freya, play other things at a high level. I also think Kelix coming in just adds like a level of stability to this team that maybe they didn't have before.
I totally agree. I think Qadsiah is a really tough opponent, even for a squad like VP. However, if there was a team to take them down, it would be Virtus.pro. This team had an immaculate stage 1. They brought back like the same thing, the running it back one more time. Jwoo and Shockwave have been an incredible dynamic duo. Shockwave looks great on the Freya and has the flexibility to go off it. And then Jwoo, for me, has been like one of the most impressive DPS in EMEA at all this stage.
Yeah, I also want to highlight here that we do have Ice Gnome in the mix here too. So now Vistola is sharing that tank duty, and they've subbed him in quite frequently as well. So there is a clear strategy to who is playing and when, and it's been working well for them.
Yeah, it has. Though I think, Jake, you can probably speak to it more. Like, where teams have started to try and go away from having the 2 tanks and like, okay, can we find a tank who has all of these in the pool? Because it's really difficult at times where your tank is like your shot caller, kind of your like, stable force in the team. You're kind of moving it around all of the time. It seems like VP, it's obviously out of a sense of like necessity in terms of hero pool, but definitely seems like something that's going away more, it feels like, globally.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see that they started picking it up here in stage 2, and Vistola spoke to that actually, I think it was last week or week 1, where he said like it's difficult for him to sit out on those games and watch from the bench for when Ice Gnome is now getting the playtime, right? Whereas other tanks, they get all the playtime and all the rehearsal time is essentially with the team. Well, let's see how this is going to play out against Alcatsia, whether or not we're going to see Ice Gnome in the mix here as well. We'll find out in just a second, so please, Butter Boys, take it away.
Thank you, Zoe. Well, this is going to be a big match for the stakes this entire stage, right? These are the 2 teams who really are vying for the top slot, want to get that direct qualifier at the best possible seed out of EMEA. Opening ban from Virtus.pro is going to be the Lucio, so putting some pressure on Kelix's hero pool, but Kelix looked good on the Juno previously, has the flexibility to compete, has a lot of experience, right? Been playing at the highest level for a long time, and the responsive Ash ban from Alcatsia, knowing that that's an extreme comfort pick for Shockwave.
It's what Shockwave's been wanting to play, right? We've seen him go over towards the Ashe, even when Freya and Sojourn are kind of like the dominant forces in the mix, so to speak, in terms of the meta. And I think Zoe also kind of mentioned there towards the end, Jake, is something that Vistola mentioned a few weeks ago. Like, he goes from basically having 100% scrim time to, you're trying to work Ice Gnome in, maybe he's got 20-30% of scrim time, right? Because they're trying to get that new player in the mix. So a huge change. We're actually going to see the legs in the mix.
This is a sick comp from VP, a ton of poke. However, Qadsiah, they have a lot of dive pressure. If they can come in from the flanks, hit the backline, you could be in real trouble here. Vistola going to be the first one to step up, take the point, but here's that flank pressure we talked about. Tracer, Kiri, they're going to be the ones to take action. For now, though, Lari holding the line well, but Labda finds Gala, and when you lose the support in this comp, things start to get really rough. Virtus.pro falling back, Fixa now in the sights for Tracer. No second healer to keep him up. And it seems like this is going to be a kite out from VP, just trying to cut their losses. Vistola, though, doesn't have the mobility to get back, is going to be cleaned up, and Tracer hunting for even more.
It's so built for VP around just poke damage, right? With the Alari and the Baptiste in that back line. I know Vistola trying to move up on the Sigma to kind of take space slowly, that when you lose a player and you start to lose that damage output, it definitely hurts. So we'll see VP actually just go completely away from it. They'll actually end up matching Alcatsia in terms of comp outside of Fixa playing the Brig. So they will still have a Brig in the mix.
I'd like to bring into the D.Va matchup, but that's a really rough, I mean, that's a 5-man swap. That's a lot of tempo there. And so as they come in this retake, Checkmate's close to the pole spawn. Look at Lab to 85 to that bowler shot. So powerful potentially to open this. I wonder if Vistola is going to be ready to deal with that early. Duel in this guy already going down. Lab to take some pressure. Both teams happy to trade here, but Qadsiah close to ultimates, able to heal up on point, and Checkmate finds Gala in the action. Flank now pushing in from Labda, potentially unscouted here, looking for that chance to connect the bowl. Vistola incredibly low, and Qadsiah once again wiped the floor with Virtus.pro, and they're gonna further delay Vistola. This could be a long delay.
Dude, this is brutal.
Close to the edge of the map.
If you were gonna lose this fight for VP, right, you needed to like drag it out a little bit longer, force maybe Alcatsia to end up using some of those ults, because you make that 5-player roster change in terms of heroes for VP. You set, you know, all your ultimates basically down to like 15%, but then you don't even give yourself a chance to build up any here with that previous fight, right? The fight ends up going in Alcatsia's way so fast. They don't need to invest anything, and then they also don't allow them to build up anything on their side. I mean, the points are already at like 75%, Jake. They may get like, you know, just one set of ultimates here, which would be wild.
This is grim. They might not get ultis at all, Matt. We're going to the last fight. Here's the initiation coming in from Alcatsia, diving in. Labda already finds Fixa with the help of the orbital ray. Shockwave here trying to get something done on the flank, but he's getting cut down. Landon hunts him on the Kiriko. And this map is over before it even really began. Qadsiah starting the series with a bang. I mean, this is worst case scenario for Virtus.pro. That has got to set you back mentally.
That is an ugly first round from VP. And they, like you mentioned, they never actually end up building up towards some of these ultimates. Like a bola shot from Shockwave comes in there at the very end, right? Just kind of in garbage time. But it's a complete round dominated start to finish by Alcatsia. VP with their comp at the beginning never really ended up with an opportunity to end up building up towards anything, any type of situation where they could end up winning the fight. So curious to see where they go from here.
Checkmate dying in the touch the spawn door challenge was the only death that round. I mean, so you just got absolutely nothing from that on VP. Maybe it was just a bad comp. Maybe, you know, like the wrong read, thinking they could get the Sigma. Just didn't work, got brutally punished by Qadsiah. So it's a reset on control, on to the next round. Bringing out the Orisa for Vistola. The Brig as well, but Qadsiah has been firing on all cylinders. Really, I think, need Shockwave or Vistola to get some production early in this fight.
I mean, dude, this team has been so good here early on at EMEA, and I obviously think VP was the test we were waiting to see, at least after that first round. It seems like they're going to be able to give them a very good game. It's Jaewoo goes into the backline here on the Genji, so Ziad trying to put some pressure down.
Oh, big connection here from Ziad. He's very low, getting aggroed. Too difficult to push into that Brig Juno. And losing the mech early is pretty painful. Still, Qadsiah gonna threaten the cap first. This Virtus.pro have got to get and gotta stop this cap. Surely they will. Vistola wants to charge forward, pops the fortify, diving in. Genji, oh, and the nice spear off the map. That's gonna take down Ziad. Should portend a winning fight here for VP. You see Qadsiah already backing out with the supports, trying to keep players alive. But Jaewoo oversets the mark there. Thought he was gonna get healed. A bit of off-sync play there, and Qadsiah gonna have a power play on the retake.
Yeah, and I wonder if there's a way you can actually kind of push into this now, right? Because you end up losing Jaewoo, you'll be back in the fight rather quickly. But you know, with that TP from Checkmate, you can get back in the action pretty quick here for Alcatsia. As it looks like, at least to me here, Jake, they're trying to get control of this high ground here, trying to maybe isolate one of the players on VP.
Yeah, Ziad taking a lot of aggro, pressuring the Brig, but Virtus.pro fighting well, grouped up together, close on some of these key ultimates. Shockwave with the bola shot. Is he going to look to get in here? So far, Symmetra's been quiet, but there she go, finding into the backline. One support down for each squad. Fixa with the rally should be able to overwhelm Ziad out of cooldowns and is going to be cut down. So Fixa looks to be cleaning this one up. Symmetra making a play, but it just wasn't enough. The ulti advantage, winning the fight for VP. We're going to have a pause, but it's a nice start to the round for VP. Call the timeout.
It's a timeout here for Alcatsia. It's kind of wild to say that, like, it looks like Alcatsia has an advantage when like Ziad is able to play some of that Diva at least here early on, because like Diva you would say is like Vestola, one of his best heroes, right up there with like the Sigma as well. But in this Orisa head-to-head, it definitely seems like VP has a better sense of how to kind of play around the Orisa and just when to take these fights.
I do think the Symmetra feels awkward in that map in the Orisa mirror, and VP are really playing well around it. Like, they're falling back constantly. They're not letting Symmetra get that left click charged up, not making it about a duel of Orisas at close range where Sim can be effective. And even though Checkmate's like making plays with the TP, I would say that's like an overperformance from what you can expect, whereas the Genji really does add a level to the front line, especially being able to deflect Orisa's spear and block all her damage. You know, I think it really makes that frontline battle so much more difficult for Qadsiah. So we'll see. Maybe that Sim wall, I mean, it is going to be super potent. Maybe that gets them the flip, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Checkmate swap over and take that Genji mirror. Despite the nerfs, I think the character does just fit really well in the comp.
Because if Sim doesn't start to ramp with her, you know, primary fire, she's like a glass cannon in terms of like a DPS hero, right? Like, not a lot of survivability. So like if, you know, Checkmate uses the TP, goes in, like if you can just get away, like Kite, and put down damage as he's trying to move forward, it's going to be very difficult for them to get him out, right? They don't have like a defense matrix or anything to kind of like eat up some of the damage. So you should be able to find those kills on the Sim. The bad parts is when the Sim lives, you're fighting in this like neutral battle, you allow her to ramp to like 100, and then you're just getting mowed down. But we'll jump back into this one. It'll be Vestola with a Terror Surge here, potentially trying to set up like at the door here, lock some of these players in. Terror Surge Bola Shot has been like a really interesting combination that maybe we see come out.
Yeah, Checkmate needs to be sharp with the Sim wall. That's going to be your best defense here. Are they going to try and TP out? No, looks like they're just faking bottom right. Going to speed out top left. Looks like the move does get them into position. Landon going to open with the orbital ray. Big shots from above. Can you retrieve your VP? You're dropping very low. A couple more shots. They're trying to cut down Shockwave. They are able to get that kill. So +1, some value there. Terror Surge slams down. TP just out in the moment. Jaber with the blade though, rallied, crushed by Kellex, and now Qadsiah cleaning the floor, getting their first retake of the round. Just stall now for VP, trying to get what they can. They are able to somehow burst down Labda. It's a nice pickoff, but VP falling a little bit later. Checkmate, of course, Landon could TP taxi.
It is a decent amount used there though, Jake, right? They end up using the Terror Surge, they end up using the blade, right? So nothing there thrown in for VP, and Alcatsia, that's an absolute must-win fight, right? The game would have been probably over at this point, where Checkmate does a nice job using that TP to get out of the Terror Surge, and then a nice bash from Kellex onto Jehu when he uses the blade. So see if they can hold on any longer.
Big Sim wall there. Splits apart the back line. Now the duel in the sky, so crucial for the round. Shockwave trying to find the Bola Shot, is backing off now. And that Sim wall starting to get very awkward here for the players into the fight. And Ziad went just a little bit too deep there, overextending, couldn't escape back to his squad. And that's a painful loss. Now VP going straight to the cap, forcing the issue. No one really to contest for Qadsiah, right? The lack of the Genji being felt. Qadsiah trying to fight this one out, but they're very low. Not that many players alive. Labda finds one in the chaos, but the flip came early, and that could be the round already for Virtus.pro. These late deaths, these staggers, super painful, going to be very costly. And I mean, I don't know if there's even going to be a touch here. Maybe like a Wrecking Ball desperation play, but against Rally, good luck.
It's going to be Ziad trying to get there on the Orisa, and he is met with just about everything there from VPs. Yeah, without that Genji, right, you're not able to kind of juggle the point as well. We talk about how Sim lacks survivability. You can like kind of TP in and out, but without that, right, you don't have something as powerful as like a dash to get behind cover, get to a health pack, be able to kind of go back onto the point. So that is VP fighting back in a big way. This will be probably the point though, Jake, where not having the Ashe will definitely be felt, right? This is a point that Shockwave would have definitely loved to play the Ashe here.
Yeah, I think, you know, our opening map and downtown Sanctuary and downtown, both strong Ashe maps. So I like the bans coming in from Qadsiah attacking Shockwave's hero pool. I do feel like Lab has been getting just a little bit better of the Freya duel, but Jehu more than made up for it in the last round. Curious to see what Checkmate's decision making is coming into this next round. What is the hero? I mean, TP to start, of course, but will he actually keep the Sim?
Nah, I think they're gonna go with the Genji.
He's rocking it. All right. I'm honestly a little bit worried about this, but I do think maybe with the Diva, the mobility is like going to be a little bit easier for Ziad to navigate. Maybe won't be as needing of the help with the Genji. But already you feel like the space is being kind of dominated by VP. Genji holding this left flank. Alcatsia is like backed out of mid right now, basically on retake. This is the first fight.
It's also like, what synergy does like the sim have with this, right? I think you can make an argument with like the Orisa, right? Like, you know, using that mobility, like TPing in, like sim doesn't exactly like fit into like dive in with a diva or, you know, play at range and try and poke or anything. Like, it's a pretty odd setup.
Yeah, and Virtus.pro is just picking them to pieces. Vistola is this immovable object with the help of the break Juno. And the rest of Alcatsia is like trying to circle around, trying to hunt for value, but Jwu's blocking them at every turn. Shockwave pumping a lot of damage. I'm starting to get worried for Qadsiah. I mean, I'm not seeing the vision with the sim. I think, especially with the lineup VP have, it's like, who's vulnerable to this TP dive? Like, sure, you can TP into the backline, but you going on a Brig or a Juno? I mean, arguably that's your best target, but those are not easy kills.
If you didn't want to play the Genji, couldn't you? I mean, you could in theory, like, you know, go back to like the Tracer that you ran in the first one. But yeah, like Checkmate can definitely play it, right? Like, there's not a reason they can't go to it.
He's getting torqued. He's getting torqued on the sim, but he's low. Needs a lot of help. Okay, he is going to get traded out. Bola shot from Shockwave, but already takes his Bola shot from Lambda, and now Lambda, the last Freya up on the map, going to have some pre-rain to clean up in the sky. And some opening pickups. Sim just playing a little bit more for the frontline pressure. Looks a bit better in that style. So maybe there's a way to play this where, okay, the flanks are going to be dominated by Jwu, by Shockwave, and maybe if Checkmate can make this, you know, a question like we talked about of just getting that energy, could be more effective.
And I wonder if now that you have control of the point, you can be a little bit more effective with the sim, right? In controlling the chokes and controlling the space, right? It's a little bit more awkward, like trying to push into the Orisa and kind of like find some of those angles. But now that they have to kind of set the pace,
shots
might be a little easier.
They barely saved Juno there. Big Terra Surge though by Vistola, damaging a lot into this frontline. Sim, Brig already going down. And without that frontline, there's not much hope for Qadsiah to make a clutch in this fight. Vistola still has some cooldowns, going to be chasing in, looking for cleanups on the point. Some stall coming in. Even Fixa baits his own life. Does get picked off, but I'm not sure it's going to matter. The pressure comes in, the flip as well. And VP make a nice counter. I mean, Landon, or rather, Gala almost went down at the start of that fight. It could have been a very different engagement. Qadsiah committed a lot for that kill and just barely couldn't get it.
Yeah, and Alcatsia takes a ton of damage from Vestola's Terror Surge, and they just don't have the rally at that time to be able to kind of try and keep players up. They end up using the orbital ray like pretty early. Where the Terror Surge kind of comes in towards the end of it, so they don't really get the huge benefits of it, but still, it's a ton of damage put down there by Vestola. But I mean, this is Lambda taking out Jwu from across the map. I mean, he's got Blade. That's a huge pick.
And I don't know if you even need to ult here. I mean, they're going to try and get it done. Okay, response to the orbital ray is going to be that immediate rally. Gala goes down in the chaos. This is a good fight now for Qadsiah. Simwon getting a lot of value, too difficult to contest into. VP trying to back out of this one. I think Vistola is going to be caught. Jwu went in that start of that fight, tried to get a kill on one of the backline, but got punished, right? Dashing out, just didn't have the cooldowns to escape, especially with Checkmate on the field. Now you just have the DPS ults for VP, but could be kind of hard to open things up with just the Blade, right? Without much support, especially with the mobility from this Qadsiah comp. This is where Sim is actually pretty potent. TP is kind of a problem for you on Genji, especially when you're trying to catch a target and blade them down.
Yeah, and if you're not able to get anything with this Blade or Bola, could be quite dangerous, as that is going to be some damage down on the Checkmate. It's going to be Landon actually using the orbital ray here in response to the Blade, so it doesn't seem like the Blade is going to get much of anything outside of getting that orbital ray out.
Landon, super low, getting packed, still trades out with Shockwave though, and the fight is good for Qadsiah. Finding tons of kills there. Despite forcing the TP with the Bola, Jwu just wasn't able to get in and do enough. The Ray was too threatening. The heroes on Qadsiah, too much damage to be brought to bear, especially against Genji. Deflect not that valuable. And Jwu, there's a question, can he even touch immediate forward hold here from Qadsiah? They're trying to choke them out. The sim turrets are there, denying the walk forward. It's going to be a rally, forcing the touch here. Maybe this rally can find a kill. Fixa fighting strong, and Kelix does go down. Maybe didn't expect that rally in time. Overtime here, grabbed by Jwu to keep the fight in contest. Fixa now being targeted down by Ziad, but he's got support behind him, and Ziad maybe forced into an early self-destruct. This on the other side of the fight. Vistola struggling, falling low, and seems like just barely Qadsiah might be getting this one over the line. Self-destruct here in a very difficult spot. Hard to contest into this. Jwu, Gala, the last one standing, and Qadsiah get the cleanup. They should be winning map one.
Yeah, and Ziad playing so aggressive, knowing he has that self-destruct in his back pocket, right? That extra life, but gets into a good position to be able to use it towards the end. And ultimately, it is Alcatsia taking that first map. And really, it's that fight where they end up having Jwu get picked early. You're not able to get a use of the Blade in that fight. And then it kind of goes into the next fight, right? Where you have both of your DPS ults, but they have the orbital ray on the other side. And you're forced to push into the orbital ray in the sim. And then I believe it's also some kills there from Ziad and Lambda that end up cleaning it up. So brutal scenario towards the end there from VP, but Alcatsia pull it out.
I was doubting the Symmetra. Honestly, I was getting worried for them, especially after round 2. But I think with the Diva being able to just play a little bit more defensively, let Checkmate have time to play the Sim almost as a poke hero. Sometimes getting, high energy, trying to kill like Briggs and Orissas. Sometimes just spamming with the right clicks over time. And Jabu was the one who kind of felt forced to like make a play. He's on Genji. He's got to make something happen. And against Diva, it looked to be a lot less effective to actually force that kind of engagement.
Well, it's kind of funny because the Sim is almost like a bait in that type of scenario, right? Like, they want to focus the Sim because it's the squishiest target, but you have the packs, you end up having some defense matrix able to keep Checkmate up a little bit longer than with the Orisa in the mix, right? Not really a lot of defensive like help offerings with the Orisa directly to Sim, but when you have that extra utility to keep Sim alive that allows Sim to ramp, then if she lives through the initial dive pressure, you're going to end up winning the fight, right? So that's a really nice adjustment there from Alcatsia.
Yeah, I like the way that they played that. And honestly, the hero bands look solid. It's a great opening map, but VP still showed a lot of strength, a lot of life. I still think they have a lot of roads back into this series. We're gonna have to see how they go from here as far as map picks and the hero band draft. I do think taking away Shockwave's Ashe was pretty potent. I think Ashe probably one of the better DPS at answering the Freya, right? No problem shooting up at those flyers. Can be annoying. I don't think Freya really has the raw DPS to kill Bob compared to something like the Sojourn who really doesn't mind railing Bob down. So, maybe Ashe could be something that you want to lean on a bit more deeper into the series for VP. Also good against the Sim.
It does feel like, though, there's more solutions for Alcatsia than VP. Like VP, let's say you ban out Sojourn. Let's say you ban out Freya here. I mean, Lambda is just going to play Sojourn, plays at an extremely high level, right? You've already banned Lucio, so that allows Kellex to kind of play that as the series goes. So Circuit, this tells me they want to play like a Risa Sigma type of matchups potentially. If you're VP, what do you like? I mean, Sim's not really going to be an option here, right? In theory, I mean, you could play it here actually. I mean, we've seen teams play it with like Sigma in some really weird setups, but like, do you get rid of the Freya, make it more of like a Sojourn long range Ashe type of map? But it feels like Alcatsia kind of has responses to a lot of that stuff.
I think there's also a question here for Lambda about the Widow duel, because Lambda has shown some impressive performances on Hitscan, but from my perspective, the Widow duel is like kind of like the last frontier of playing Hitscan, where you really want like the pure hard expert in the matchup. And I wonder, Ziad, I just feel like I haven't really, or not Ziad, rather Lambda, I haven't really seen him play much Widow. I mean, he's looked insane on the other Hitscan, but I would think if I were Qadsiah, I would probably want to ban Widow on this map just to simplify the matchup and allow Lambda play in a little bit more of his comfort zone. And the same token, though, VP, if they want to prevent that, they could open with a DPS ban just to prevent it.
Well, I think if you're VP, I imagine you want to play like Sigma or Risa. I imagine you maybe even think of banning one of the tanks to protect the fact that Sigma, Alcatsia could just get rid of like Sigma, right? And then what?
That's very true.
You're playing like into the Diva, right? Which is exactly kind of what they want to do. So like there's a trade-off here, right? Because if you don't do that, then they could definitely get rid of one of the tanks. If you get rid of a tank, then Alcatsia could get rid of Widow, right? If you wanted to play it. So really interesting predicament here.
Yeah, I'm also curious to see, some of the support picks as we come into this. But of course, you guys, we do have drops on today, so make sure you've always got your BNet linked. Got to stay locked in. You got to be grinding these drops out.
Guys, we run. Just take a screenshot of this graphic, guys. We I see everybody. It drops on. It drops on. They're always on. Look at that. It goes from here all the way to 28th. 28th, we change it up. We give you new drops. But make sure you're connected. Make sure you get these. What's your favorite one out of these, Jake?
I'm kind of digging that name card, like the running through the open country
mountains. Yeah,
it's kind of a vibe, actually.
That's kind of cool. It's a lot of running for me.
You're a big runner.
I mean, where? where am I running? It's like I don't know. Like
from the TV to the phone.
I go to the gym with some of my buddies here. It's like they're like, man, they have kids and they're like, yo, I need to do some type of physical activity. And the other day we were like, wouldn't it be awesome if we could just send like AI robots to the gym for us, and it would just make us feel like we went to the gym, and then just still be at home just doing nothing. but
okay,
that would kind of defeat the whole purpose. Oh, so wait, we see a Juno ban there?
A Juno ban. I didn't see the response ban, but it's interesting the Juno ban comes in. So it's sort of like, I think in a way this makes sense because probably your biggest worry, like we talked about, is it, are you worried about the Sigma? Are you worried about the Widowmaker? But really, I think your biggest problem if you're VP is just the opportunity for Qadsiah to play like a super high tempo style with, Sim or Genji or Lucio or Juno, just like really fast, aggressive play that punishes the greed from Virtus.pro, whether it's the Widow, whether it's the Sigma. And so by taking out the Juno, you mitigate some of that threat.
Yeah, and for VP, they actually get rid of the Ram here early on, so that's their first ban. That's another one where, right, you get a tank out that potentially could see play into the mix, and you also protect the Sigma and the Orisa. We'll actually get this changed up. It is actually Alcatsia on defense here. So we'll get that one.
I've been trolled by the bans. My whole logic was wrong because it was in fact Alcatsia banning the Juno. But they're going to roll out with a pretty heavy dive setup. And VP, I think this is just a scout from Bastola.
Yeah.
I don't think he has any intention of actually playing Wrecking Ball here. And VP going with the counter pick, and it looks like it is going to be the Sigma. Checkmate still sticking with the Pharah despite some of the nerfs. I feel like on a map like this, you're not too worried about the perks. Maybe you're a little bit more focused on just the raw spam.
But Jake, with this VP comp, right, you kind of, obviously, it's another comp that's pretty similar to what they started out with, right?
Oh my.
On Busan, it's very poke heavy. Gala ends up getting picked off first. But like, the players on Alcatsia, there's so much mobility and the ability for them to escape and like mitigate damage. It's gonna be hard, I think, to find some of these picks.
Yeah, I'm also sort of questioning the Mei from Jwoo. He's gonna have to get a lot of work done just sniping and putting down big damage because I don't think Qadsiah really have any intention of fighting the cart. I think they are just gonna almost poke. And despite your comp from VP, I wonder, like, do you actually win an extended poke trade? Maybe you just need the Mei to get the Diva off the cart.
Yeah, we've seen teams actually run Mei, in EMEA here a few times now, and it's really been more about like trying to split a player off and then kind of run them down, but that's obviously not the comp that VP is going for, right? No ability to kind of like add speed to anybody on the team, and you lose Gala yet again, so 2 times in a row, it's the Alari getting picked first.
Yeah, Jwoo still trying to take this fight, though. The trade comes back in onto Checkmate, so it's still a winnable scenario. Drone Force now. Fixa trying to make some kind of a play here with the Amp Matrix. Labda in the meanwhile does win the duel, looking for some more. Taking a risk here, swinging wide with the help of the Diva. Missing a couple shots, though. The nice moves from Fixa are going to keep him alive and allow him to be that last man standing. Bastola, meanwhile, has been pushing this cart the whole time. Ult from Landon has to be careful. Is shield blocked by Bastola. Ulti over the top from Checkmate does find the tank from Virtus.pro, and I wonder if this is going to stymie some of the progress. Ziad's low, but I think he's going to be able to get out of this.
Yeah, Ziad gets a mech back, so we'll see. It's actually Kellex up on the high ground, who's able to now drop low with a TP. Heal him up as it'll be Gala ending up using the Captive Sun, connects to the player there, but has to dip right. Kellex ends up using the Kitsune Rush. You have players coming back from Alcatsia behind this Checkmate TP, so although getting very close here for Virtus.pro, not able to take that first checkpoint just yet, and now it's Ziad going on the offensive.
And has bomb too. Fixa so low, so incredibly just dodges down and kills Ziad. That's a crucial outplay from
Flux
Fixa.
Gets nothing.
Yeah, Flux gets no value, but without the tank here, frontline's gonna be very hard to hold. Jwoo even has the Blizzard if he wants to use that to zone the point. Freya under a lot of pressure and is gonna get cleaned up. So Ziad, I mean, that's such a difference maker play from Fixa. He lives on like 5 HP. I think if he goes down there, that's a very different engagement.
Yeah, okay, so the bans, I guess, were flipped as well, right? We were talking a little bit about what the bans potentially.
Oh, it was VP playing. Okay, my reasoning was right.
so your reasoning was right. There was reasoning, I think, for both teams potentially. Sometimes we get the bans here. In EMEA, we get topsy turvy here in the morning, Jake, and sometimes you can tell. Like, hey, not sure on that one. This one though, you could have actually made an argument either way.
Qadsiah has decided to really up the tempo here, bringing out the Lucio into the backline. But oh, the Blizzard is not quite enough. It's still zoning away a lot of the backline. But meanwhile, Ziad finally catches his prey in Fixa. Is DMEC looking to continue on in this engagement? And Qadsiah fighting well despite a few players dropping low. Ziad 50% to that mech, needs a little bit of help, needs a little bit of outplay here, finds the melee. And that's going to get him back into the suit, back into the fight. And VP, that's an expensive fight. They really tried to clutch that one out, and it seems like they're going to be staggered and punished.
Dude, I mean, Ziad has been so good for Alcatsia here. I mean, it's very early, I know, in the EMEA stage, but I mean, he's definitely made a very strong case for potentially best tank in the region at the moment. I mean, looks absolutely phenomenal. I know I had him last week in fantasy. I know Apply is pretty consistent on the Ziad train. So see, nice bola. That's gonna get actually nobody ends up dying to it. It just ends up getting the pylon.
Yeah, wasn't able to finish up the kills, but still forced a lot of the VP squad back. Now Qadsiah's turn to kind of lick their wounds. Ant Matrix from Fixa may discourage some of this aggression. Ziad incredibly low, going to be too low to really participate into the fight, but Landon rips the Kitsune Rush anyway. They're trying to double down into this. The big heals coming out from Baptiste with that perk now. But the sim wall over the top, going to make it very awkward for Vistola to find a connection with his ulti. He does pick up one, but is the fall up there? It seems like just might be. Labda does fall. But Vistola is low, can't really take the pressure of this combined D.Va and Symmetra, not without falling back to the support of his teammates. And finally, seems like VP are going to get some card progress rolling.
Not a ton of time left though, right? For VP, you know, a minute and 40, it seems like a lot, but when you get close to this door, it's so easy for the defense to potentially get holds, and then the run back is so long as Kellex will end up getting a beat in this fight, be going up against Shockwave with that bola shot. So we'll see if he's able to kind of keep everybody up. The TP is also going to be pretty nice here, Jake, to cross that gap.
Ziad, 99 to bomb, really needs to get that self-destruct to continue to assault. Here's the beat coming out and diving into the backline. Fixa droning himself incredibly low so far, staying alive, staying healed. The Blizzard is zoning away some of the participation from Qadsiah. And it seems like Virtus.pro maybe getting this one over the line. It's down to the deathmatch. Shockwave with 2 though, surely that blows it open. Ziad drops the self-destruct in the backline, but who's there to contest the point? Checkmate for now. Checkmate with 2, somehow wins it out on low HP, and Ziad is back. No way.
Yeah, Checkmate's still there. Ziad able to get another remake. As dude, how many times have we seen, whether it's like a self-destruct or just being able to get a mech back, even from Baby D.Va form? I mean, just crazy stuff from Alcatsia early on. And like I was talking about, this is such a difficult part of the map to push through. They're going to have a Kitsune Rush and this sim wall to work with here. Bola shot as well. Alcatsia looking to get a 0.2 hold.
Bola shot could be massive here. See if the connection comes in. Simwall as well. Immediate Bola shot finds Gala, and already the opening both supports down. Virtus.pro need to get out of this fight and try to reset, try to get one last touch on the point, but Qadsiah giving them no quarter, going to be hunting this down. He knows there's one more to find here. Immediate shot onto Jwoo is going to force the block in this. I mean, May has never been more dead to rights.
Yeah, there's never been a player I would be more comfortable saying that they are dead coming out of an ice block than
the whole team
Jwoo there.
You're trying to get the touch here. Vistola does get it, but seems like it's not going to be much of a difference maker. Ziad is low, though, so hold on. Okay, Checkmate cleaning up the backline on the Symmetra. Ziad looking healthy now with the help of the Kiriko. It is going to be that cleanup Qadsiah we're looking for, and they are going to be able to get that hold on second point. So overall, a very solid round from Qadsiah, and I think one consistent theme we've seen is that when they start playing these dynamic, aggressive comps centered around the D.Va, allowing Lab to checkmate, and especially even the supports to really get active and get into the fights, Virtus.pro, that has been their Achilles heel with Vistola in the past, right? Is things that just run them over and they don't allow Vistola to get that value in the long fight he's looking for.
And I think after map 1, if you're Alcatsia, you kind of see that like that is your path to victory, right? Playing fast around this D.Va and putting pressure on VP. VP, like you mentioned, right? They see probably the most success when they're able to play a little bit more of like a methodical style of play, right? Poke, work, work their way up the map, force abilities out, right? Play that type of game. Their strength wouldn't necessarily be to play at this like blistering pace, right? So Alcatsia here early on doing a nice job kind of forcing that onto VP.
And VP now need to make the hold. I will say the Sigma comp tends to be a little bit more comfortable on defense, and with the push they got into second, they're going to have a few strong opportunities through the map, but you feel like it's got to start pretty strong on first point, right? They've got to get a couple fight wins here, and I'm curious to see how they fight this. Often we see the Sigma comps kind of just poke a little, but more or less fall back until the archway.
Do you think though, with the May on defense, like could you go and play like the Pharah here instead of the Sim, like potentially? Like
you could look to. I'm a believer in the checkmate sim so far. I mean, honestly, like the way he's opened up the map, TPing the D.Va in for flanks, the fundamental concept of this Virtus.pro comp is keeping the enemy in front of you, and Symmetra just attacks that core idea. So here we're gonna see Ziad immediately take the back line, start to put pressure on, and this just gets very awkward if you're Fixa. However, the team put a lot of focus fire on Ziad. He's in a bit of trouble, has to just play this one slow.
You also think that when we saw them play as Vistola takes a little bit of damage, they're gonna have to pack up. when we saw them play the sim into like the Orisa style comps, right? It could be very difficult to get that sim in position. But if you get the sim in position here, right? You have the Sigma shield to charge up against. You have the Mei, you know, walls to charge up against. I mean, look at this, right? He's getting charged up from around the corner, right? So he's getting charged from a safe position and then able to just fly around the corner and just, you know, weaponize the shield.
They're resetting cooldowns, looking for the TP into the backline. D.Va into that, and everyone immediately nuked down. Drone as well, forced out. Gala and Vixen just trying to stay alive, trying to keep each other into the fight. Ziad got so low, but the support was there. Perfect timing from Landon to come through. And now Qadsiah, with the player advantage, may look to get a little bit more done. You're down on resources here in the defense. Ant Matrix used, but they're being swarmed over with the help of the Kitsune rush from Landon. And Qadsiah wiped the floor with VP.
Yeah,
Clock burn, no chance.
And they are just getting beat up. I mean, you see Alcatsia, no fear, right? They use that Kitsune rush, they use their bullet shot, they just push straight in. Even with that Ant Matrix there, you just push right into the BAP and crew, and Fixa now going to go over to the Brig Illari. It's a bit of an odd look here. I mean, I think you're just keeping the Illari because you're close to the Captive Sun, but the comp is just very bizarre now.
Captive Sun is just not a good ultimate here, right? Like, it can get eaten by the D.Va, get cleansed by the Curie. I really disagree with this decision. We'll see if it pays off for Gala. He needs it to, right? They need to find some kind of opening. But they're up against the Sim wall from Checkmate, which is a huge problem. They get a big flux. Oh, Symmetra a little bit wide on it, is going to be able to get bursted down. So just a bit of an overconfident swing from Checkmate. Does he read where the bomb's going to be? Pistola blocks it with ease. And VP seem to be fighting well, but Jabo drops. It's getting chaotic now. You don't have that strong save from the Baptiste.
And because Checkmate's going to get a TP and get back in the action here quick, Jake, you can actually use this. Yeah, they're going to use the sound barrier and push right on in. And even with that Captain Sun, it doesn't matter. They have the protection of that sound barrier. They're going to push straight through. Lab that gets 3.
Ziad mech, though. And they can't kill Freya. So a little bit of an overextension from Ziad. But is there a punish? Is there an opportunity to touch? Desperation may well, but yeah, there's no chance you're even going to make it to the card.
Yeah, they're not going to get there.
Qadsiah. I mean, this just like bringing Kelix into this roster with Ziad is firing on all cylinders, and I'm really feeling Junkbuck's fingerprints all over this team. Like knowing that, okay, VP, you want to play slow, we're just going to absolutely murder you with the aggression, with the dynamism, and the players have followed through. I mean, to be in that 4v4 scenario and just full confidence, rip the beat and dive, it's like that. To have no delay on that decision is so crucial for Qadsiah, and they look great on this style.
Well, we embraced the darkness here for a little bit when we came back. It was just us in a very dark setting. It's kind of
night mode.
Yeah. It was definitely you know, that's the vibes I had last night watching the games. It was tough. Just a very, very sad time. And that a huge glass of water you got.
That is, I gotta stay hydrated, bro. I gotta stay hydrated.
That is
I'm a gamer
massive.
out here, you know.
But, dude, Alcatsia, I mean, they look so strong. Playing around the Sim, playing around the D.Va. It would be like so bizarre to say, like, because VP, it's like obviously Pistola, very good. Like, do you need to ban D.Va at some point? Dude, right?
Do you need to ban Sim? I mean, Checkmate's putting that work in. Like, some of these TP dives into the backline. I'm thinking like the way they broke open first point with Checkmate TPing D.Va into the backline, and they've been like fearless with that level of aggression. You know, Ziad is TPing into the backline, but then everyone else is like running over Pistola while your enemy team is looking at D.Va, and the coordination of that aggression is really hard to deal with. I mean, that is a super fast pace of play that Qadsiah are showing right now.
And you're getting D.Va in those positions while D.Va also holds on to her mobility as well, right?
Exactly.
So like even if they try to collapse on Ziad, he gets there without using any defense matrix or, you know, any of his flying. So he's able to just kind of get out with relative ease. As we take a look at the stats, pretty heavily dominated here for Alcatsia. So continuing to get off to a fantastic start here in EMEA, and really kind of building off of what we saw from them in Champions Clash, right? I know very good performance from them at Champions Clash in Hangzhou, so looking to continue that here in EMEA, and looking like the dominant force in the region at the moment.
And I mean, the Symmetra is one of those heroes that, like, you might be a really strong DPS player, but piloting the Symmetra and crucially as a team playing around it is really challenging to adapt to in this moment. Like, this looks like something that Qadsiah came in looking solid, looking prepped on. VP are reeling, and this is a rough thing to be losing to, because you don't beat the Symmetra with like some simplistic adjustment. You really have to understand the way it plays and be able to react. Like, maybe it's a fake TP, maybe they're going to TP the whole team, maybe it's just the D.Va, right? There's so many scenarios, and you need to make those snap judgments. And right now, VP, that's been their Achilles here, and it's being punished time and time again here.
we've seen Sim in the past, right? You think about like I know old London Spitfire, right? Being able to take comps that weren't exactly like meta or great, and you just add so much mobility to it with the TP that it just kind of throws teams for a loop if they're not really good at playing against it or know how to play against it. So can be really good in certain situations. VP goes Runasapi, so we'll see what they decide to kind of go with here. At least from what we know, no subs coming in, right? So Ice Gnome potentially not coming in here for VP. So yeah, will be no subs on both sides.
Yeah, it could be maybe like going over to a Maga look, but with how good the D.Va is looking, I'm sort of wondering if we're going to see much of that. On top of that, the nerfs to Genji maybe hurting the style overall.
Yeah, I'd also love to see like if they do bring out a Maga, like what does Hazard look like now into Maga in that type of world, right? We haven't seen that so far here in EMEA in this first match, but dude, VP, I don't even know what do you ban the Sim here, right? It feels like an odd ban for Runasapi, but
I think the way Checkmate's been playing it though, I do think it could be good here. It just feels like, you know, Qadsiah, the DPS they're running are going to out damage in long fights, right? With the Symmetra being actually one of the greedier DPS that you can pick in terms of like damage output, and yet they're playing with a super high tempo, and it's going to be the Freya ban. Yeah, so Qadsiah ban the D.Va. Okay.
Well, okay, so I think those are flipped. So VP gets first ban. Yeah, VP gets first ban, and they ban.
You're reading the signs here. I'm just watching.
You gotta look. There's a rite of passage here for you.
I know. I'm being hazed.
A lot of times, you know, we blame it on Mitch because, like, you know, he gets up early, doesn't have his coffee, right? You know, he's
Mitch,
like,
put the bans in, bro. Mitch is in the back.
Yeah, but no, VP, they get the first ban. They get rid of D.Va. So that's kind of what I was like. Oh, maybe you do get rid of D.Va, do you get rid of Sim? Like, they get rid of the D.Va here. So I imagine we're going to see more Rush style here, Orisa, Ramatra, things along those lines. And then Alcatsia decides to get rid of the Freya, where they haven't. I mean, look, Labdus played it, but like they'll happily play like him on Soj, right? He's probably looked the best on Soj, in terms of him as a player individually. So this also is a weird way it kind of like works out for Alcatsia again, right? Like, you know, you're saving, even if you lose here for Alcatsia, right? You still end up getting your map pick and first ban. Like, you have a lot of different flexibility to go with there. Series definitely breaking Alcatsia's way thus far.
I mean, it's like you said, man. Like, did you ever think you'd see the day where Vistola VP are banning D.Va? They're like not gonna take the D.Va match. I mean, that's where Vistola cut his teeth. I do think Sigma is like, I would say his best is where he really wants to shine because it's so, you know, mechanically intensive individually. But the fact that they're straying away from the D.Va mirror is a bit scary to me. I think part of it is the checkmate sim, because I think D.Va has a very hard time against Symmetra in the mirror match. Just you can't reliably burst her, and if you fail the burst, you're like gonna get cooked to death. So
we've also seen Alcatsia so far try and play the sim with like the Orisa, and it definitely did not look as effective as when they've comboed it with the D.Va, right? So maybe you feel like you get a little bit of a 2-for-1 here, where if you get rid of the D.Va, it eliminates some of the ability for them to play the sim. So we'll see though if that breaks to be true. Is that an alpaca or what was that?
Looks like a llama.
What a llama? Oh, okay, I was like, wait, what? What's a llama? It's like look, I'm not well versed with animals, but I feel like I would have heard about that. Zoe just tried to say something to us, but I don't know what she said. I think,
so he doesn't like my double L pronunciation.
Oh, okay. I was assuming it was a shot at me because Zoe typically is always a shot at me. Yeah, no, we have confirmation. Yeah, that it was. So
they're starting with the sim. Based on past performance, I feel like they're gonna run it. Lucio as well this time, though. I actually kind of like this adjustment, the Lucio Kiri, because I don't think the break Juno mirror, I think the Genji tends to get a bit more value, but Lucio Kiri has a bit more poke threat than the alternative matchup, and so maybe you could play this slow for Qadsiah and just kind of poke and prod away. VP's got to get aggressive.
The Lucio was banned in map 1, right? So not an option to play this type of composition in map 1. So potentially This is what opens things up. Is a lot of damage going
Checkmate
down
one.
here.
Checkmate one needs to be saved. Is saved and is going to turn it onto Jwoo. Now full energy sim needs to go down. If you can't kill the sim, you will die. And Checkmate getting back to full. Kelix now getting in the engagement. Basola running low on cooldowns, has a last fortify, stabilizing for the moment. But here's Ziad dealing with the Brig. And that was a close fight. I mean, if Checkmate falls early there, that fight really does rest on the edge of a knife. But it goes his way, and that's the power of the full energy sim, especially with the kiting potential from Lucio. Yeah. I actually like this matchup a lot more. Like you mentioned, the hero bans have shifted, and especially with Labda on the Sojourn right in his comfort zone, this is a scary matchup for Jwoo. Like, you've got to send it and kill the sim with your Orisa, but if you fail, you're gonna die first every fight and look like a fool. It's not his fault, it's just the way of this matchup.
Definitely more protection for the sim, right? It'll be a Kitsune rush here already.
You're full out.
So yeah, they have to run here. So if you're VP, try and kite it. Can't exactly go in there though. So yeah, Checkmate all charged up inside that room. This is gonna be 3 count.
No way. Bastola coming in, trying to get this touch going. OC comes out. Shockwave has it charged up first, trying to full kite here. And look at this, Qadsiah nowhere to be found. Completely escaping the Sojourn. No connections out of Shockwave. And the re-up is going to be here. They have the sound barrier. However, VP wants to respond. Ziyu opens up first. Going to be Checkmate with the sim wall. Challenging to fight into. Fixa has the rally, but it's really just you up in the front line. Damage being rained in from the back here. Qadsiah dropped the beat to follow up. Labda looking for his own overclock. Also a relatively quiet one. Ultimate's off the field, but Ziad close to that Terra Surge. Shockwave finds Landon, so you've got to strike quickly if you want to make this one winnable for Qadsiah. Immediate commitment onto the flank here, spin into the backline, big connection, Terra Surge with 2!
And dude, you can see that VP didn't, even with double support ult there, Jake, they didn't want to push into that sim wall. I thought the sim wall was like in a really odd spot at the beginning, but when VP's trying to run down the street, like Alcatsia kind of turns that corner and they're like, hey, if you're going to fight us, you need to run all the way up the street and turn the corner around the sim wall. And VP ultimately doesn't want to commit, and then Ziad is able to get into the mix. The Terra Surge, you're able to get a really nice sound barrier there from Kelix. It's actually a Terra Surge from Bastola, and he's like around the corner outside of it, but he's able to get that beat onto everybody. And Alcatsia is just rolling.
Yeah, they look great so far. Continue to make a bit more progress. Ziad is low, though. Forced into a fortify. Maybe has gone just a little bit too far. Here's the blade pulled. No connection on the Kelix. Wall rides away. The TP gets him out of dodge. Kiriko's gone. he's fighting his demons out here on Genji. That was a nice blade from Jwoo.
He's seeing ghosts. I mean, he's like, he sees a guy, they disappear. You see another one completely gone. Is almost impossible there for Jwoo to get anything with the blade. Another rush here.
Big connection. Landon is low, but they're still going to keep this aggression up. Checkmate diving in, but Jwoo and Shockwave find kills of their own. Ziad, Labda, and Kelix here, the last 3 standing. They need to find some more, but they do find the connection. 2 versus 3, though. Double support Orisa. Surely it's going to be too much. Ziad just doesn't quite have the damage to get through this. Kelix goes down. Ziad at least is going to die on the cart, so denying some of that return progress. VP finally get the fight when they're looking for, and Jwoo's over to the Tracer. He's had enough of dealing with these TPs. I don't blame him.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like you're getting the benefit of the Genji ult. Really, also, it seems like very difficult for him to kind of stay in that backline and put that pressure onto the sim constantly. So over to the Tracer, maybe making his life a little bit easier. But dude, that's a big lead for Alcatsia off the rip. Already about halfway through here at Runasabi.
Fight's going well for VP, though. Pretty big advantages. Shockwave tries to slam his foot down. Jwoo finds Landon. Big connections from the rails onto Ziad. No way to really heal him up, get him back into the fight. And it looks like Alcatsia just going to cut their losses, take the reset. And that's the fight you needed from VP, right? Winning with just the overclock, it kind of puts you back in contention for the game. However, you're facing down a stiff challenge in this next engagement.
Well, yeah, if you're Alcatsia, you definitely get another fight here before checkpoint. You're going to have the TP to get players close. You're also going to end up with that sim wall. Could be kind of devastating here. The bot approaches checkpoint. It's getting very close here for VP, as it'll actually be contested now.
OC forcing out that orbital ray. Ziad for the moment trying to hold his ground with the Terra Surge. Simwall assisting in that effort. Fixa pushed off with the rally. Vesol is out on his own here, but has the Terra Surge, so now sending it into the backline. Beat force. Response from Qadsiah, keeping him into the fight. Vestola maybe bit off more than he could chew with the threat of that rally. Now it's Brig in the sights for Orisa, trying to get bailed out, trying to get pulled back from the engagement. But this is a Lucio comp you're dealing with. Qadsiah wants to chase this down. There's no front line in Vestola. He's got the back spawn. Brig caught alone and should be getting cleaned up here. Trying to get saved by Juno, but Ziad is just relentless, hunting this down. Now Juno may have gone a little bit too deep. Gonna be falling with her comrade. That's a great fight overall for Qadsiah, and it turns into a real stagger for Virtus.pro. painful spot. Now you're gonna maybe lose a bit more lead.
And they don't even get checkpoint there for VP, so quite brutal, right? Because we go all the way, you're going to have that stoppage in time, right? So really the clock dwindling and is against Virtus.pro at the moment. And this is actually a pretty good spot, Jake, to use this Kitsune rush, right? Right around the corner.
Cleanse.
The stick, cleanse, yep, everybody stays up.
Yeah, now this Kitsune rush so hard to fight into. Such a powerful way to amp up the damage from Symmetra. You see all the heals coming in. Landon being harassed in the backline on Jaywu, but Basola's used all his cooldowns to survive this, and here he's running out of gas. Now who's gonna hold the cart? Backline getting scared. Full charge spear. Oh, scare everybody, hide, everybody get down. Take cover. But Qadsiah just continuing to stack up the meterage here. Gonna be pushing in, potentially even making it through this arch. These charged javelins are scary, and you don't even have a confident way to start this fight for VP.
No, and for Alcatsia, right, you kind of play here at the choke. You're going to end up with that Terror Surge here to potentially able to use. So we'll see Ziad. He just plays such an offensive style of play, right? I mean, you see right up there in the mix. Fortify, yeah, backs up. And they'll wait for VP to come around the corner. If you're Alcatsia, you have complete control of this game. There's no reason to kind of overextend, force the issue. That'll be that Terror Surge. Oh, yeah, like 3 players low.
Yeah, but is the damage going to fall from a nice body block here on the break? She's caught alone. She needs a little bit of help. He's going to clean it up on his own. Ziad with 2. Looking for more, trying to find that 3rd. Low HP, but he doesn't care. The rest of the VP are running for the hills, and this could be a full cap. Qadsiah seizing this first seed with gusto.
Is Ziad just putting in work here? I mean, that is sick body block. Terror Surge gets a few players weak. They'll be Labda ending up using the overclock here. Shockwave with his as well. But Alcatsia just making a really strong push.
And Labda still here holding the backline, still pressuring the cart. Simwall is dropped. Landon has the Kitsune rush. If he thinks he can win right here, right now, maybe this Terror Surge is enough though. Big hit on 3. Landon does commit though, trying to win this one out. Wisely, I think Calyx is going to hold on to the sound barrier. Seems like VP are going to stabilize at the brink of defeat, but I don't think I've ever seen a comeback from this scenario. This would be historic for VP to run it back. Now you have to contend with that possibility. Hold on, some of the kills are starting to come in. Qadsiah with 2.
Dude.
I don't think they expected to win this fight. I think they were down to let it go, let it, drift by the wayside. Calyx is just going to die on the cart, but so scrappy and continuing to run the clock down. I mean, you got to climb a mountain right now, VP.
And that's what I mean. It's kind of like a garbage time trades there, but that's another like 20 or so seconds off the clock, right? And because they don't have checkpoint, you're going to go all the way back the opposite direction. You're going to get another fight really early here for Alcatsia.
Yeah, and Qadsiah, they don't really have to do anything. How do you initiate from VP? You don't have an ulti. You don't have a way to force this engagement to start. Big damage on the Labda, though. Is in a bit of trouble. Being harassed by Jaywu, who's trying to get that follow-up, but however, Checkmate getting a bit torqued up. Beat is going to be committed, and maybe you're gone a little bit too deep here. Brig, shield broken, cannot bash away. TP into the backline. He's full energy on Checkmate, cutting down Basola with the help of Ziad. 3 kills now in the feed. Qadsiah cleaning up. Will they be able to get that last bit of meterage? VP, they're so close to their own spawn. It's so defensible. Jaywu, desperation mode, goes to the Venture just for the stall. And that's a really rough spot to be. You got Terror Surge for Ziad holding the cart. The Burrow already used. This is going to be a very difficult overtime to stop if Ziad can get that Terror Surge on the point. Immediate connection onto the backline. Shockwave in trouble. And this Orisa is such a huge problem. You got to deal with him. He's looking to spin close to your own spawn. Basola out of resources, can't get help from the team. And Surge over the top to finish the fight. Qadsiah 4 alive. Ziad, though, does drop low. Still gets 3 kills in the final seconds. No way. Qadsiah 3-0 dominate Virtus.pro. Your previous 1 seed, the team that we thought would be the best potentially in EMEA, got clapped down. We thought this was going to be a close match. It was not, Matt.
No, I mean, this just a statement game here from Alcatsia. And dude, Ziad and Checkmate combined, I mean, they put so much pressure on the opponents, and you see Ziad there towards the end, just how aggressive he's playing on that Orisa. I mean, regardless of whether it's the Diva or the Orisa, he is just playing so aggressive. And I mean, just a real offensive threat at all times.
Yeah, but the coordination with the team is so good. Everything they do is so rehearsed. They're always at the same page, so the aggression rarely ever gets punished. They get those crucial picks time and time again. This was so much more one-sided than I expected. I really genuinely thought that VP is going to be the team to push them, whereas the team that got closest to them was in fact Twisted Minds in their opening match against them. So this is shocker, a bit of a surprise. Should we be worried as Virtus.pro fans here?
I think think a little bit. I mean, I think the bigger question for VP is how they fare against other teams, because in the end, right, like we expect this to be closer, but we always knew Qadsiah would be the biggest threat for VP. So in the end, even if you lose this match for VP, like there's a world where you're still the second seed. You're not that worried about like this result in particular. But for the long-term future, it's a bit scary. It's a blueprint, certainly, for other teams of how to deal with VP and their incredibly, good play in the poke comps.
I definitely think it raises some questions, though, right? For VP, you end up going to 5 games with Quick Esports, which obviously we know Quick was able to, get that win over the Ultimates. And then for VP, you 3-0 Gen G, who their only, game they've looked competitive in was obviously beating Frosttails, right? So, and then now you lose 3-0 here. So it's a really bizarre start for VP. And like it doesn't get much easier for them as well, right? They end up playing they play Frosttails next, but then they play Twisted Minds. Twisted Minds, like you mentioned, so they take Alcatsia to 5 games, right? That's been the closest game they've had so far. Otherwise, just dominating everybody.
Yeah, and on the other side, Alcatsia, I mean, their schedule is certainly going to be much easier for the second half of this stage with what do they have coming up? Quick Esports, Pets, and Gen G.
They play Quick next. Not obviously this week. They play it next week, but that's actually going to be, that could be an interesting game. I mean, Quick has played, obviously, Ultimates and VP very close. So, like, potentially that's, a game that could be interesting.
Good effort there, Matt.
I think Qadsiah is the real deal, man. I don't even know how much I want to like criticize VP after the series. I just think this Qadsiah squad is really hitting their stride. I think Kelix has come into this team and his impact is being felt. I'm feeling like Junkbug's fingerprints all over the way that they're playing with this like aggression, but very synchronized, very controlled, and the willingness to come and clutch some of these fights down a player immediate. There's no question about it for Qadsiah. They're taking tempo every single engagement, and honestly, that's a very scary team to upset. A team with like an individual player popping off and being able to carry can always have a lot of variance. But a team like this where everybody's hitting, everybody's contributing with the ultimates, especially I think the support line, Landon and Kelix, are getting into these fights and they're difference makers. They're winning some of these flank duels.
Yeah, it's not like you can just take one piece out of the equation and then you have the upper hand against Alcatsia. Absolutely not. Everyone is pulling their weight and then some, but someone who definitely stood out above the rest has once again been their tank, Ziad, and that's why he's getting himself the player of the match honors, ending that last map with the 3K, just very casual. His Orisa looks just so good, and his Diva as well. Like, it's actually insane what he gets away with.
You could have given it to either him or Checkmate, I feel like, for this series, but Ziad on whether it be the Diva or the Orisa, like, it's very rarely you kind of see like, VP get outmatched in the tank department, right? Vistola has been, pretty rock solid throughout his entire career in EMEA, but Ziad was fantastic throughout this and just continuing his really strong play as a tank in the region, right? Every single game, I feel like he's making a massive impact.
Yeah, and it just feels like they're leveling up with every single series they're playing. Let's take a look at our updated standings after yet another W for Alcatsia, which are now finding themselves at the very top with a 4-0. But as you said, Virtus.pro most likely going to be the second one to come out, or at the very least, top
now you're
3.
wondering, though, for a team like Twisted Minds, right? Like, they're going to start to think, hey, maybe we're the number 2 team. Maybe we can put some of that challenge on. I mean, they played Qadsiah very close in the opening match for those 2 teams in the stage. And so, it's getting a little scary, but Qadsiah, I mean, this is a crazy lead to have this early. Like, they just need to stay locked in because this is the only danger for them here is getting overconfident. I mean, plus 9-4-0, like, they could like get 3-0'd and they're still in first seed.
Yeah, and that could be really close there at the end with the points there, because now both VP and Twisted Minds have lost against Alcatsia, so that kind of puts them even, right? So,
but TM grabbed some map points, so it could matter.
You think about for Alcatsia, right? What's like even more impressive, right, is they have that huge map differential and they have that undefeated record.